Hi there, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm showing you the March Stamp of the Month Club for Fun Stampers Journey. Now you can get the dies with this as well. So here's what the dies look like and here's what the stamp set look like. I'm going to be showing you today how you can take your inks, surface inks, distress inks, whatever you have, and just make two backgrounds that are kind of similar, but you can change up the colors to make it whatever you want. So this first one here is kind of a sunset background. So I'm using my Zest, or my phone book, excuse me, to add on that yellow. And then I'm going in with some orange. This is jack-o'-lantern. And I'm just blending these together. And I'm kind of overlapping those lines where one color stops and the other one starts, so that I can get a nice blend and blending these colors together. Now I did speed up the blending process because it takes a little bit of time. And what I did not show you here is I did go over these several times. I'm just showing you the first application of color, but I did go over these colors several times to get some really nice color on this cardstock and really saturate that cardstock so that ink can be really vibrant. So I'm just blending in my last color here. This is Wagon, which is a nice deep red, and I just used 3 colors on this background and it turned out really well. So here's a look at the finished background. I'll show you here in just a second. Just going from phone book to jack-o'-lantern to wagon, and you have a nice sunset background. So if you want to change this up and make sort of more of a twilight background, you can use more purple and pink colors. So my twilight background, I'm going to start with my lightest pink, which is honeysuckle, and I'm just going to start blending this on the bottom. And again, I'm going to speed this up so that we can kind of move along and you get an idea of the ink blending. But ink blending does take a little bit of time, so be patient with it. Just keep blending, just keep adding on that color until it's the color that you want. Now, by this time from doing my first background, my fingers are really inky and I want to make sure I don't get any smudges on my background. So I'm taking a piece of cardstock and just using that to hold down my card base, my background, so that I don't get any ink smudges on my card. Now, if you do get any smudges, don't worry, it's not the end of the world. You can always put an embellishment over a smudge, you can always stamp something over a smudge, and if you have a sand eraser, it sometimes works really nice to lightly sand away a smudge. If it's just a really tiny light one that works as well, but I feel like it's better to take some precaution and just try not to smudge in the first place. Anyway, so I am going from my honeysuckle ink and I'm blending it into rouge, which is a nice pink kind of color, and then into marsala, which is a darker pink, almost sort of a reddish pink, and that's what I'm putting on right now. And I'm just making sure that all these colors fade into each other. I'm overlapping where they start and where they end, just so all these colors kind of blend well together. So once I have those pinks on, I'm going to go switch to purple. So this is Plum. I love this purple. It's just really pretty. And when I'm blending it in from the top, I want to make sure I get a nice dark application of it. And I also want to blend it over that pink. So where they meet, you're getting sort of this pinky purple color, and it's going to blend out to the purple, and it's just going to look really nice. Now you might notice that I'm kind of trying to blend my color on in sort of an arc shape. That kind of gives the impression of the sun setting in the background, and it's getting darker out, just kind of a twilight kind of background. So once I have that purple on, I'm going to take one more color. This is my darkest color. This is Midnight. And I just love this color for twilight backgrounds or nighttime backgrounds, galaxy backgrounds. It's just a really great dark purple, and I think it just adds a little something special to that top by adding a little bit more contrast in a darker purple. So here are my 5 colors. This one did take a little bit more time to blend. If you wanted to skip a few of these colors, just use like 3, you can do that as well. So with my background done, I wanted to take this solid image of this windmill and stamp it out to make it look like a silhouette. I wanted it to look like the background is the sun setting and you're just getting the silhouette of this windmill on a hill. Now these are cling stamps, so go ahead and take that foam piece out of the back of your Misti. Preferably do it before you have the magnets on your Misti, because that's a lot easier. These magnets are actually really strong, so I really had to pull that foam piece out and I did wrinkle my background a little bit. So just take it out before you put your magnets down. So because I want this windmill to be a silhouette, I want to stamp it out in black, and I'm using my Versafine black Onyx ink today because I feel like that is the darkest black ink that I have. Now this is a pigment ink, so you're going to have to wait for it to dry a little bit. You might want to hit it with your heat tool as well, but just remember, hitting it with your heat tool might warp your cardstock a little bit. So just keep that in mind. But I stamped this out and it looks great as is, but I also stamped it another 2 times, so I have a lot of ink layered on there. So definitely give it some time to dry. Now I want to make a hill for my windmill to stand on. So I'm taking some of my Brutus Monroe masking paper. I love this masking paper. You can stamp on it, you can draw on it, you can do anything with it, really. So I'm just taking a pencil and lightly sketching out sort of a sloped shape to make a hill. And you don't have to be an illustrator or have any talent in drawing, just make a little curved shape like I did here. And I'm just kind of eyeballing it. I want to make sure I have enough of a hill that my windmill will sit on it and look sort of centered. So I decided I needed to extend that line a little bit more before I went ahead and cut. And then I just cut my paper so I can use that as my mask. Now looking back, I probably should have cut it down a little bit farther. There's not a whole lot of paper on that little thin strip on the top, but it still worked. I'll just show you how I used that. But I just want to eyeball it, make sure that that hill is going to work. And I thought at this point, I'm pretty sure it's going to work pretty well. So I'm going to go ahead and stick my masking paper down. You can see that little thin strip up there on the top. I should have left more room, but I didn't. Anyway, so Brutus Monroe, they did something really smart. They scored the back of their masking paper, so all you have to do is just kind of bend and peel it off. So I appreciate that because that was really super helpful to get that backing paper off really quickly. Anyway, I also ran it on my sleeve to kind of get some of that stickiness away, because you have to remember that even though this masking paper is made for masking and it works fabulously, you have a lot of ink on your cardstock base. That's going to saturate the paper, it's going to make it a little bit softer, and you really don't want it to rip after you've done all that beautiful ink blending. So you really want to make sure that when you peel off this masking paper, you're being careful, you're not ripping your paper, do it slowly, and just take your time. So I'm taking my Versafine black Onyx ink and I'm just smooshing it down to make a black hill. And I apologize for my head being in the way, but I was trying to get down on eye level and really eyeball where my ink pad is landing because I didn't want it to go over my masking paper. I should have left more room there on my masking paper on my mask, but I didn't. So I wanted to make sure that I didn't smudge my windmill. And it all worked out fine. And I actually really love the way that this hill turned out. So I'm really glad that it worked out. I'm glad I didn't smudge everywhere. And you do have to remember that this pigment ink can get everywhere. It takes a while to dry. It's really juicy. So I used my Brutus Monroe Media Matte, which is great, and it's very easy to wipe up. So I actually went ahead and I wiped up that ink before I removed my masking paper. So I am very slowly and carefully trying to peel this masking paper back on itself. It started to stick on this side, so I thought I would go over to the other side and try to peel this off. Now by this time I have a lot of ink on my fingers. I have ink from blending, ink from stamping this black pigment ink, and I was really afraid I was going to get smudges everywhere. So about this time I grabbed my scissors, and I'm actually using my scissors to hold down my cardstock so I can peel off this masking tape. And it worked great, didn't get any smudges, but you again want to leave that ink to dry. You don't want to get it everywhere. So after I had the masking paper off, I also did my other cardstock base, my other background, and I stamped out the sentiments on these two. So this is basically the card. I wanted to add just one more thing, so I grabbed my little tulip images from the card, or the stamp set, and I wanted to stamp some down on the bottom to kind of give a little bit more interest, to make it look like it's more of a landscape photo, if you know what I mean. And so I'm just stamping these out with Versafine Black Onyx ink again. So that's basically, along with my surface inks for the background, I use a lot of this black ink. And looking back, I probably should have put these tulips in my Misti and stamped them out several times to get them really nice and dark and crisp. But my kids were kind of waking up at this time, so I was trying to get these cards done. But I just stamped 3 of these tulips on the bottom corner, and then I was going to stamp out the stems for them as well. And I really love that addition of these tulips on this really great 1-layer card. So I think these would be really encouraging cards to send to friends, a nice 1-layer card. To finish these off, I just put them on a white cardstock card base, and that's about it. So I hope you enjoyed these cards today. I hope this gives you some ideas of how to use your inks and different color combinations to make sort of a twilight or sunset sky. Thanks for stopping by. If you have any more questions or if you wanted links to anything, I have lots of links down below. I also have a link to my blog post where I'll have more photos, more descriptions, if you wanted to check that out as well. Otherwise, thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you will hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Go ahead and push the thumbs up, give me a like. Make sure you tap the bell to get the notifications. Just click everything and do all the things, and then we're good. So thanks for stopping by. I hope you have a great day. Bye.